subject of animation and the art form that it is, the first thing you think about is Disney and how Walt Disney was the pioneer and really the father of modern animation. Now, animated films come in very many different varieties, but what I want to focus on is Disney's animated films as a whole, and how, in actuality, Beauty and the Beast was the culmination of the perfect storm of all the animators and the music and just wonderful art form, and that it is, in fact, one of the greatest Disney films ever created. Now, when you think about Disney films, of course you think about the first one, Snow White, and how it was the very first feature-length animated film ever to be produced. And that, in and of itself, was a huge milestone because the technology really had to be pushed forward 20 years in order to have this movie. And then whenever you continue on down the road, each film has had its own milestones, like The Great Mouse Detective, which was the very first animated film to use any sort of computer programming to help with the animated process. Now, Beauty and the Beast, along the course of all the Disney animated movies, is at the point, right at the cusp of Disney's Renaissance. And this is a time period between about 1986-87 until the 1997 or so. And in this span of time, some of the greatest movies since Walt's death were made. Now, from Walt's death in 1965, there was about a 20-year or so slump, which was considered the dark age of Disney animation, where there really wasn't pivotal movies that were produced and put out. Certainly there are some classics such as The Aristocats and 101 Dalmatians and Robin Hood that were made during this time frame, but they weren't memorable as Walt's were in the previous years, such as Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. Now, when you have the Renaissance coming back, you have an influx of fresh, young animators straight out of CalArts, which is partnered with Disney in the animation teaching process. And you have such animators such as John Lasseter and Glenn Keane, some of the greatest animators and greatest thinkers of the animated years that you can think of today, honestly. You have them coming straight into the Disney animation with under the tutelage of the 9 old men, those who were left after Walt passed, and they were the ones to take up the cross and continue on in the animation process. So you have the phasing out of the 9 old men and the new, younger animators coming in and bringing their own new life and spark to the stories. And so because of that, you get some of the greatest sparks of animation since Walt died, which started with Oliver and Company and The Great Mouse Detective, which was really kind of where the animation started chugging again and really kept going and said, we're here for the long haul, we're going to do this. And so then whenever you bring in certain musicians like Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, who brought forward so much to the troupe, they had such wonderful ideas and had such heart. Howard Ashman, honestly, was the heart of Walt Disney Animated Studios at this time. He had such passion and such drive to make the best animated movies that he possibly could, and how he was presenting the story as more of a Broadway musical and approaching the music in that sense. So you have songs that really tell the story, that cause you as the audience to feel for the characters. Like in Little Mermaid, which was one of the first movies that Howard Ashman wrote for, you have this song, Part of Your World, which really should not be an animated gem because it's a slow song right in the middle of the movie that lost attention of some of the younger boys in the audience whenever it was screened. But you have so much emotion in that story, and you understand what Ariel wants. And you have this song which furthers her character development more than any other movie the songs have had. And so this is what Howard Ashman brought to Walt Disney Animation. He understood the need for proper storytelling through song. And so whenever he came on and started working with Don Hahn and Gary Trisdale, the directors, the acting directors of Beauty and the Beast, they started working with this story of change and how love can cause a change that you really couldn't imagine before, and how it really is just a tale as old as time. And so they all work together, and you have these animators like Glenn Keane working to create so much emotion and so much character in their animated characters. And you have such passion poured into this movie, and you can really feel the heart of the animators as they're creating it. And towards the end of the process of making Beauty and the Beast, Howard Ashman unfortunately died, which was a blow to the entire crew and cast of Beauty and the Beast, and it caused them to reflect on it and to think that this was Howard's greatest work that he's done. And it really is. The music and the lyrics are just wonderfully perfect for a story such as this. And it creates a whole nother emotional level to this movie that just creates the poignancy in the story that has such depth. And this is obviously shown through the fact that it was the very first animated film, feature animated film, any company, does not matter. It was the very first animated film to be nominated for the Oscar for the Best Picture. Fortunately, it lost to Silence of the Lambs, but it did not lose in the Golden Globes. It was the very first animated film to win the Best Picture at the Golden Globes. And this movie, it has so much depth and so much strength that it really is the greatest love story that Disney has ever told, and the greatest story period that Disney has ever told.